know that we are back in the TV studio. We get to talk legal stuff. I've got Harvey Jang with me, Chief Privacy Officer with us at Cisco. Harvey, thank you for coming in out of your crazy space back over there. You've had a lot of sessions. I'm glad you were able to join us here on the set.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You get, and yeah, as you said, we don't get to talk legal stuff all that often.
Right.
What I want to talk with you today is about something that's so cool. It was last month's Cisco 2024 Privacy Benchmark Study. For those of you that didn't see it, this is our annual review of key privacy issues and their impact on business. This year was really interesting, this particular survey, right? Most organizations, they're limiting their use of Gen AI rather than expanding it because they're concerned about data privacy and security issues. 27% say they've banned Gen AI altogether, at least temporarily.
Right.
Give us your perspectives here. What's going on?
Yeah. So this was our 7th year in putting out this privacy benchmark study where we survey thousands of IT professionals around the world across 12 different geographies to get their take and sentiment on hot topics and trends in privacy. And some of the things that stood out was, again, yes, a lot of people are afraid and cautiously embracing this new technology of AI, but some of the other things that stood out is really embracing privacy as a business imperative, which led to our title of privacy as an enabler of customer trust. So this year, some of the findings just really stood out that what we've been talking about for years, like privacy goes far beyond a check the box compliance exercise. And so extending beyond that, like 94% of companies said they wouldn't buy from vendors that they didn't trust to protect their data. And so it just started shifting into something that you really have to pay attention to from a customer and market and business perspective, more than check the box compliance. And that's something that we've talked about from the very beginning of our privacy program 8 years ago.
Right. I mean, we've been in this market. Cisco has been in AI for many, many years. Everybody thinks this is a new concept. It's not. The way we're talking about it is new, but we've been around for 10 years with AI. We see it in tons of our products. I always say that when we're trying to tell a story to people, AI is the perfect example. We have to remember the hierarchy of the way humans hear information. They hear as people first, consumers second, corporations third. We can't go in the opposite direction, right? And that's why I think even from a company level, we say there's a lot of potential opportunity and benefit for AI, but if the person first is afraid of it, well, guess what? We've got to crack that code, right?
Right. So you do have to find a way to harness the power of AI and the opportunity that's out there, but at the same time, make sure that you're cognizant of the risks and approach it with a bit of humility, right? There's so much that we don't know yet, right? And so much that we have to work through and unpack and really have to set that governance structure up. So you start paying attention to what those risks and opportunities are and set your strategy for your organization.
It's a great way to put it. Let's go with another statistic that came out of the survey. 91% of businesses recognize that they have to do more now, as you said, to reassure their customers your data is being used for its intended and legitimate purposes when it comes to AI. How do we get them that confidence that they need?
Yeah, so that is a challenge, but building on a foundation of privacy, because these are some of the things that we've done for years, right? Looking at understanding the data and really driving those concepts of transparency, fairness, and accountability. And what we're seeing in AI is really that transparency and explainability is what customers are asking for, and thankfully businesses are recognizing they need to do, and regulators are going to start demanding it very soon with a bunch of AI-related legislation that's in the works, really calling for that transparency. People need to know when AI or generative AI has created the content. People need to know when AI is making the decisions that are going to impact your life. And so transparency has been pushed up to the forefront here as one way to gauge fairness, in the sense that fairness is so many different definitions, and I think there's studies that talked about 21 different algorithmic definitions of fairness, and so what is actually fair? So we start with transparency, disclose it, and the public will tell you if what you're doing is fair.
It's so subjective. Do you see 2024 as a tipping point, or as a point where we start to change the nature of the conversation, or do you think this is a longer play?
It's much longer, but I hope the conversation is just beginning, and we're beginning to pay attention. I mean, people talk about AI as the fourth industrial revolution, or the first industrial revolution for knowledge workers was another phrase I heard in this conference today.
You remember what Oliver said during the opening keynote? He said it's more important than the invention of fire. I don't know that I'm going to go that far, but
but it's important in the sense that if you look at what happened in the prior industrial revolutions, people weren't paying attention to the harms that were emanating from that. And we're still discovering, right? And sustainability is a hot topic. We're still going through the impacts of the prior industrial revolutions. So let's try to pay attention and get ahead and proactively try to mitigate and prevent the harms coming from this new technology.
It's a great way to put it. Here at Cisco, we have been researching privacy for a very long time at this point. What do you think are some of the key trends that you personally have seen emerge? Maybe some of the highlights of the research that sort of point up those trends?
Yeah, so it's some of the trends that we are seeing that really stood out. We're seeing, right, the increase in spend related to privacy, but thankfully people are still seeing a very positive return on investment. And so over 95%, despite the increased spend, are seeing a positive return. And the return, it was averaging 160%. I think we would all love that level of return on any investment that we put out there today, but people are still seeing the business benefits of privacy. And we actually gave a talk on that at the IT leadership sessions about the positive business benefits to privacy programs and investing in privacy. Really just the first step is understanding your data. If you have to first figure out what's personal data, what's sensitive personal data, then you start understanding, classifying, segmenting, and then when you understand your data, you can better harness the value and take advantage of the opportunities that the data presents.
And a lot of that data that potentially causes risk, frankly, is already in the system. People already entered it some time ago,
Right.
not realizing that, okay, we may have a little concern on our hands. I want to go to your specific role. So as Cisco's Chief Privacy Officer, how do you go about navigating that changing intersection between AI and privacy? It's a delicate dance, right?
It is a delicate dance, and privacy started the foundational to our responsible AI program, because AI isn't new to privacy. I think the GDPR that was passed here in Europe in 2016 has Article 22 that talks about automated decision making and working through the risks to a person when AI is being used. But well before that, the 95 directive on privacy also talked about ADM and automated decision making, and even the French privacy laws in the 70s were worried about AI, I guess whatever AI was around in the 70s, but they were very concerned about that. And so we're starting to pay attention to how decisions are made and requiring that a human is in the loop, right? And so those types of things. And as we looked at privacy and AI at Cisco, recognize that yes, privacy is a big issue. We're a critical stakeholder, but the risks and opportunities go far beyond privacy, right? Risks to intellectual property that are unanswered questions of who owns the rights to the data, and was the data ethically and legally sourced? That's a big question that's floating out there, both from a privacy perspective and a copyright perspective. And so there's all those other aspects of human rights, sustainability, all these other components that AI is going to impact. And so at Cisco, although we use privacy as a foundation and using the tools and frameworks we set up, we brought in another group to look after this. And we're recognizing that it has to be multidisciplinary. You have to look at it at all different angles. And so we have a responsible AI committee that's cross-functional, led by our engineering team, and looking at both the promise and strategy and opportunities of AI and the risks, and how are we going to deal with them. And just surfacing it first, and so we can have some thoughtful discussions on what the right approach is. And so it's still evolving at this stage.
I think it's so exciting, and what I love is we're personalizing it now, right? So Jonathan Davidson, the other day, he said, let AI do the unimportant stuff so humans can do the important stuff. This is a way I think that we start to pull back from that fear. Let AI cover the things that people don't necessarily want to do to begin with. That sort of bit by bit, piece by piece. Let humans have the big creativity and engagement, and that's exactly what you're talking about here, and I think that's what Cisco is pushing, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a tool that is going to accelerate and enable and create new efficiencies and opportunity, but it's also something that we have to pay attention to, and the human has to review it, right? I look at it as a thesaurus on steroids at some points, right? Like, you still have to check, like, is it giving you the right word for the context that you're trying to do? Even in these very powerful large language models, you do have to review it, and I think people are recognizing now, and the awareness is critical, right? People are finally recognizing that these LLMs or large language models, they are beautiful writers, but they're not constrained by the truth. And so you have to make sure that it's accurate and fit for purpose what you're using it for, but it can write wonderful prose for you.
I love talking to you, Harvey. The reason is you are such a good storyteller on this front for giving people confidence in what's possible and saying, no, we've got some issues. We're working through those issues. We have the expertise to do that, but stick with us because it's going to get you where you need to go to the outcome that you're looking for. Such a pleasure to talk with you. I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to join us here in the studio, and I'm really glad that you brought this to us and to everybody viewing today.
Great, thanks, Steve.
Congratulations on a great Cisco Live.